Tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou.
Alfred Naro.
Mr. Speaker, manuia e le whaamatuina o le vaiaso o le ngangana o Samoa. Manuia e le whaamatuina o le 5 tūsanga o le tutoa o Atasi o Samoa. Blessings for the celebration of Samoan Language Week. Blessings for the celebration of Samoa's 50 years of independence. Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of this budget of 2012. But Mr. Speaker, I want to read from the words of Sir Apara Ngata, who in the early 20th century told his people this, that they could not expect support from the culture and government that had deprived them from their land. Instead, they would have to use their own resources to make a living within the dominant culture of New Zealand in order to create prosperity for themselves. Mr. Speaker, these are wise words from our tūpuna, who told us that we need to ensure that when we plan responsibly. And Mr. Speaker, that is the budget that we've been given by the Right Honourable Bill English. It's responsible for managing the government's finances as one of our priorities in very difficult fiscal times, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so Apara Ngata gave us this wisdom, and so it tells us this. So how do we show a nation that we truly do care? Often in this side of the House, we've been labelled as the Tories who don't care, who don't sort of have a concern for the ordinary, everyday people of our communities. Well, Mr. Speaker, this is how we care. That in our budget of 2012, we've freed up $4.4 million to reinvest in better results from frontline services. We're lifting educational achievement, increasing participation in early childhood education, ECE, better quality teaching, rebalancing our investment at tertiary level between student support and greater investment in teaching and research. We want all our kids to leave school with the knowledge and skills that they need to reach their potential in the 21st century. Mr. Speaker, this is what concerns me. Have been involved as a Board of Trustees for 20 years, being involved in schooling improvement for over 25 years, Mr. Speaker. And this is the thing I want to tell the people on the other side of the House. I've seen many times in which educations have talked about, and we support our educational system, but we also know that there are some that are in there that need a wake-up call. I have seen people take the funding for Māori and Pacifica students, but not willing to do the work, not willing to be held accountable, Mr. Speaker. We've seen the Minister of Education stand up and say, why is it that we've increased teacher numbers, but we've not increased the performance and achievement of our children? Our children, Mr. Speaker. That's what this budget is about. That's what this budget is about, Mr. Speaker. 4 out of 5 kids are getting the qualifications they need, but under National's plan, we want to lift that standard, Mr. Speaker. National's plan is about getting 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. We want all our kids to leave school with the skills they need to reach their potential in the modern economy. You can talk all you like, but here's the results. And here's the results that are coming through. We are firmly focused on raising student achievement. To do this, we must invest in the biggest effect possible. The quality of teaching and practice and professional leadership is what truly does make the difference. We've set 2 ambitious targets in education, increasing ECE participation by 98% within 5 years. Mr. Speaker, we know that early childhood education is a way of increasing literacy and numeracy in our schools for our children. That's right, Ms. Moroney, our children. 85% of all 18-year-olds achieving minimum of a level 2 qualification for NCEA. We've heard on the other side, oh, but that's too high a standard. Mr. Speaker, how can you say on the other side that it's too high a standard for our children? For our children, it's not too high a standard. And this is what happens, Mr. Speaker. It's on the other side that keeps our children, Māori and Pacific, in poverty. And this is the thing, Mr. Speaker. I stand here as a person who's bum from this community, who's worked as in community development, and you find it hard to speak to me because I am the same person that's been there. I know the results, I know what we need, and I stand here proud of this budget because it truly does make the difference, Mr. Speaker. But what about welfare reforms, Mr. Speaker? Too many of our New Zealanders have become dependent, and as Sir Apara Ngata said, this state is not where our dreams and our moimoia and our vision is. No, it's not. It's trapping our families in poverty, and it's costing too much. We believe that those who can, should, have the opportunity. Work is not a means to end. Work in itself is an ability to get us to a vision and a dream of where we want to go to, Mr. Speaker. And we'll hear the rhetoric go, where are the jobs? Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter how many times you keep putting out the statistics, you'll keep hearing the same thing. Mr. Speaker, there's an old saying this: do not throw your pearls before the swine. Do not throw your pearls before the swine. No matter how much of the statistics and the results we give them, Mr. Speaker, it will not make a difference. But, Mr. Speaker, we'll keep telling them why, because it's not the people on the other side that we want to hear what we are saying. It's the people at home. It's the people at home that need to hear this message. So we'll keep preaching it, Mr. Moroney. We'll keep telling them this is what we are doing. So it's about a better life and better opportunities. 12% of our working age population is on a benefit, and 220,000 children are in a benefit-dependent homes. Mr. Speaker, that's an indictment on any nation. And this is what we're doing. We're taking responsibility under the Honourable Minister that we have, who has a vision that 12,000 people have now cancelled their unemployment benefit. 13,000 people went off the DPB and into work. $17 million of savings overall that we can reinvest into our youth and our young people. We will undertake further reforms during this term of this government. Our changes are significant. They will introduce 2 stages, and one includes supporting sole parents and children 5 and older into part-time work. Mr. Speaker, this is not just rhetoric. When I've gone into my communities of Glen Innes and of Panmure, this is what they've said to me. They said, Alfred, this is what we need. We need opportunities. We need opportunity. We've heard the one-trick pony over and over again. But this is the thing, Mr. Speaker, they've forgotten now. I'm a first-generation born Pacific Islander. And this is what you've forgotten about. We are now first, second and third generation. We've become more educated, more mobile and more articulate. But your message is this: you still want to keep us in poverty. Mr. Speaker, this is not a message for poverty. This is a message for hope. This is a message that I stand as a Pacifica person, first generation, and says, this is what we are doing to make a difference for our people and for our community. You can keep talking, but after 9 years, you have not made a difference. After 9 years, you made a difference. So this is what we are doing. This is what we're doing. We are helping those who can work to find a job. We're removing barriers to work through childcare assistance. We are targeting resources to those most at risk of long-term dependency and helping young people make better choices. But what about health? What about health? Mr. Speaker, I really do want to take my hat off and acknowledge the support of the Māori Party as our coalition partner. $6 million in an Innovation Pacifica Fund. $6 million. Let me tell you this. When I've researched under Labour, you did not give any innovation fund to our Pacifica for health. Not once. Your funding was all in the mainstream voting of health. But this is what we've done. This is what we've done. Under the Honourable Minister Tariana Turia, she's allowed for $6 million to be invested in innovation. What's that for, Mr. Speaker? So our own people can be self-determining. Our own people can make the choice about what we need to do to improve our health. Not state-dependent, but our own people. And we're going to see more innovations come, Mr. Speaker, that will come out of there. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of this budget. I'm proud that what this budget does, Mr. Speaker, it puts the resources in the hands of our people to be self-determining. Mr. Speaker, this budget not only does that, but it says this to us. It says there is a hope and there's an opportunity for us to be self-determining so we can make the choices for our children. Mr. Speaker, I stand proud to be here today so that my children will look at me speaking in this house and knowing this, that we're not dependent on anyone else but ourselves. So Aparana Ngata said this, who was in this house at one time. We are not dependent on the state. We're not dependent on anyone else but ourselves. We will find the answers for ourselves. What this government is about is allowing our own community to be self-determining, to make the choices for itself, to be caring for the concerns that we believe are very important, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budget is such a good budget, Mr. Speaker, that it allows for great opportunities in health, education, welfare reforms that is. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say that is my last thing I want to say, Mr. Speaker. As the Honourable from the Māori Party, Te Ororo Flavel said, Mr. Speaker, research is important. And Mr. Speaker, it concerns me that out of the New Zealand First Party, Mr. Speaker, when they talk about whānau ora and they condemn the work of whānau ora. And they say that the work they're doing, and all they do, Mr. Speaker, it's grandstanding. But Mr. Speaker, what is it about? They have not seen the impact that whānau ora has had on many of our whānau and family. What is it doing, Mr. Speaker? It's allowing Māori to be self-determining in itself. But instead, what we have the nitpicking, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we're accused of being penny pinchers. We're accused of taking from the paper boys. There's a lot of nitpicking that comes over there upon something that truly is making a difference. If they really felt that they supported something that was indigenous for Māori, then they would give it an opportunity to do its best, and that's what it's doing, Mr. Speaker. It's doing the best that it can. And Mr. Speaker, we hear all these inflammatory remarks but Mr. Speaker, there is no truth in them. I'm proud to be here today, Mr. Speaker. This is a great budget for our country and for our nation and for our community.
Honourable David Cunliffe.